This is not your average courtroom drama. Rather, it is a jaw-dropping demonstration of boldness and disobedience that will have you questioning where the borders of proper behavior should be drawn. This will have you wondering where the lines of appropriate behavior should be drawn. Come along with us as we dissect the compelling details of this one-of-a-kind case, which revolves on a woman's disobedience of others in positions of power. Hold on for the ride, because this story is going to make you think hard about the limits of your bravery and the consequences that come with pushing those limits farther than they should go. A woman called Ebony Burks, who was 32 years old at the time, found herself in front of Judge Gary Bennett at the Elyria Municipal Court in Elyria, Ohio. Judge Bennett presided over the case. Due to the fact that Ebony was accused of both assault and domestic violence, she was up against a hard legal battle. During the course of the court proceedings, the judge gave Ebony a stern reprimand and warned her that she was prohibited from having any sort of relationship with the victims who were involved in the case. Ebony was also told that she was not allowed to have any contact with the witnesses. Due to the fact that she resided in the house that belonged to her grandfather, this verdict suggested that she would be unable to visit or communicate with her cherished grandfather, Shedrick McCrae, for as long as she continued to reside in that house. Ebony's veins started to hurt, and a rising tide of bitterness that had been building up inside of her finally overpowered her. Ebony had been harboring this animosity for quite some time. Her violent resistance was triggered by the things that she held most dear, including her grandpa, her home, and the sense of belonging that she received from all three. She could not abide the idea of being apart from them in any way. Her emotions started to spiral out of control, and she let loose with a verbal assault that was quite aggressive at the judge. Ebony was given a sentence of 30 days in prison by Judge Bennett at the commencement of the proceedings due to the disrespectful behavior that she displayed. Ebony, on the other hand, was unmovable in her adamancy that she would not yield. Instead, she maintained in her vehement arguing, which added fuel to the fires of the self-inflicted torture that she was already experiencing. The period of the defendant's sentence was gradually lengthened by Judge Bennett in response to each offensive remark and aggressive outburst made by the defendant.
You can't go visit them. If you go someplace and either Mr. McCrae or Ms. Castro's there, you have to leave. If you're someplace, even though you may have arrived first and one of them shows up, you still have to leave.
After discovering that she would be prohibited from going back to her grandfather's home, she filed an appeal against the decision made by Judge Bennett.
So you gonna tell me I can't go home?
I'm telling you, you can't go home. If you live with...
Whoa, I'm talking. I don't need you to say nothing.
If you live with Mr. McCrae, you cannot return to that residence.
Oh, but how you just gonna tell me I can't go home though?
What?
How you gonna tell me I can't go to my home?
I just did.
Well, I bet I do.
Well, then you're in contempt, young lady, and you've got 30 days. So you're not going to... You're not... What?
Whoa.
Get back! Get back!
You just said I got
Get back! That's another 30 days. That's 60 days.
So what?
90 days.
So?
120 days.
Okay, and?
180 days.
Whoa! Please, quiet. Get off me!
After a duration of 180 days, Ebony suddenly walked away from the camera, leaving the courtroom in a condition of shocked quiet. Quickly approaching the camera, a security officer apologized on behalf of Ebony's disruptive conduct that was captured on tape.
I ain't bad. They got commissary. I got money.
That's 200 days. You got anything else to say, Miss Burks? That's 300 days.
At that very moment, Judge Bennett was aware that he had used up all of his opportunities to show mercy. It was with a sad heart that he handed down the entire 300-day sentence, ensuring that there was no room for interpretation about the repercussions of Ebony's disrespectful behavior. The woman was handed a sentence of 300 days in jail, and she served her time until December, when she was released to participate in the Residential Key for Women program. She served 88 days of the sentence when she was incarcerated throughout her stay there. It was asked of her that she withdraw from the program, but she did not return to the facility as was necessary. A lady flagrantly disobeys the COVID-19 limits while being driven by her own personal ideas and ignoring the safety measures that have been placed in place. However, this is not the end of her deeds. When she is forced to face the repercussions of her disobedience in court, she takes her defiance to a whole new level by showing disdain to the very judge who is responsible for determining her future. Get ready for a tale that will explore the tension that exists between individual liberty and collective obligation. The Ingham County Jail is now housing Marlena Pavlos Hackney. She is the proprietor of Marlena's Bistro and Pizzeria in Holland, which has remained open despite receiving many warnings and orders to do so due to the fact that it does not adhere to state requirements designed to prevent the transmission of COVID-19. Because she did not comply with a court order to turn herself in earlier this month, the Michigan State Police had to take her into custody sooner than expected. According to the warrant, she had disregarded a court order that required her to stop her restaurant, which was still operating despite the fact that its license had been revoked. At the hearing, the Ingham County Circuit Judge Rosemary E. Aquilina said that Pavlos Hackney would not be released from jail unless she paid a fine of $7,500 and demonstrated to the Office of the Michigan Attorney General that the restaurant would remain closed until the issue was resolved. There is currently an epidemic in progress. Aquilina informed Pavlos Hackney, "You didn't follow the orders because you didn't care," which was a direct quote from Aquilina. "You didn't follow them in order to gain money, and you didn't do it in order to attract people's attention to yourself." Pavlos Hackney has said that she is making her voice heard on national conservative talk programs in defense of her constitutional rights. She has received support from those who believe the government overstepped its bounds with its directives to put an end to the COVID-19 outbreak. Pavlos Hackney said that she would maintain her business operations even in the event that she was arrested. Aquilina responded to her question by stating, "So, ma'am, this is the wrong way to get attention, and this is also the wrong way to be a good citizen. Providing assistance to those in need in the midst of a pandemic in this manner is not effective."
Now, before we proceed, appearances for the record.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Danielle Alice Newcomb on behalf of the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development.
Thank you. Ma'am, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to provide will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury?
I would like to call...
Ma'am, stop. I know you want to control this room, but this isn't Burger King. When the sign changes to Burger King, you can have it your way. Right now, this is my courtroom, and you will answer my questions.
Under my 5th...
Ma'am, stop. Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? Yes or no? Are you going to tell the truth? All right, I'll take that as silence. I understand her attorney is on here. Where is her attorney?
Mr. J. Becker.
Again, say anything again without telling me you're going to tell the truth, and I will hold you in contempt of court for 93 days. Contempt carries with it 93 days and or $7,500. You will not act disrespectful in this court. Do you understand, ma'am? You certainly may remain silent. Where is your attorney?
That was before Pavlos Hackney could talk to her lawyer, Robert J. Baker of Holland, who was at the court hearing via Zoom while the suspect was in the courtroom. Before Pavlos Hackney was brought to court, Aquilina had Rick Martin arrested for practicing law without a license. Martin said he was there as Pavlos Hackney's assistance of counsel. The judge said that Martin had told the court that he was Pavlos Hackney's lawyer by filing a notice with the court. Martin said he wasn't a licensed lawyer when Aquilina asked him about it, but he claimed that the Sixth Amendment gave him the right to help people with legal problems. He told the judge that he was there to help Pavlos Hackney, who was said to be a Polish refugee, because she has trouble understanding English.
May I request...
Ma'am, I will address you. If you would like to go out of order, we'll start this 93 days from now.
After reading case law and state laws, Aquilina said Martin would be charged with contempt, which is a 93-day misdemeanor, and a guard led him out of the courthouse. This woman, facing charges of ending a life, denies every accusation with an eerie smile plastered on her face. Can you fathom the chilling audacity? Join us as we delve into the spine-chilling details of a trial that will leave you questioning the boundaries of sanity. In 2013, 31-year-old Kania Gamet and 38-year-old Marcel Hill lived together in Jackson, Michigan. They made an odd pair because their personalities were so different from each other. Marcel was said to be friendly and act like a child, He only went to high school and worked at a fast food place. He had some problems, like a mental illness, a problem with his thinking, and a physical problem. Camilla, on the other hand, didn't have any problems, but people knew she was on drugs and that she was angry and mean. She had a hard life and moved 13 times while she was young. She had also been arrested for beating a former boyfriend, which was considered domestic abuse, so it was interesting that she ended up with Marcel, whose personality was much better than Camilla's. Camilla and Marcel had a hard time getting along because they were so different from each other. Camilla often went after Marcel. In one case, she used a knife to stab him and then patched up the cut herself. Marcel never told anyone about what happened. In another situation, Camilla beat Marcel up and poked a hole in his lung. Again, Marcel never told the police about her. In a third event, Camilla hit Marcel on the head with a club once more. The police charged her with attack and domestic violence, but Marcel didn't want to push charges, so the case was dropped. This would lead to very bad things for Marcel. In a fit of anger, on May 18, 2013, Camilla killed Marcel. A neighbor called 911 when they heard Camilla and Marcel arguing at their house. When the cops got there, they found the house in a mess. The furniture was broken, and there was a bloody knife, a broken floor lamp, and a bloody frying pan. Camilla was also covered in Marcel's blood and had trouble speaking when the police found her. Marcel, on the other hand, had been beaten and stabbed to death. He had been stabbed 11 times, and a knife was used to cut his chest open. Camilla had no injuries. Camilla was caught right away at the scene of the crime and charged with open murder soon after. This meant that the judge or jury would have to decide how bad the murder charge was. Camilla said that she killed Marcel in self-defense because she thought he was an invader or an attacker. She said that she had been sleeping but woke up when she heard glass breaking. She couldn't see because it was completely dark in the house, so she got a floor lamp and started swinging it at the intruder. She was able to find a knife in the dark and use it to hit the intruder until he fell down. After she turned on the lights, she realized she had killed Marcel. After that, she called 911. Camilla's story of how she acted in self-defense was easy for the lawyer to pick apart. First of all, Camilla would have been able to recognize Marcel because he would have called out her name and begged for help as he was being stabbed 11 times. Camilla instead told him that she didn't know his sound. Second, Marcel had 11 stab wounds, but Camilla said she only hit him 3 times. In the attack, a bloody cooking pan was also used, but Camilla didn't say anything about it. Camilla then said that Marcel was to blame, saying that he was addicted to drugs and would act mean when he was drunk. Prosecutors didn't believe her because Camilla was the one who had been arrested several times before the murder for domestic violence.
Before I impose sentence, is there anything you want to tell the victim's family sure are here today?
I just want to say that I stick by the truth, which is that I did react in self-defense. I did love Marcel, and basically at trial, the way I was portrayed, mostly everything was lies. There was a little bit of truth, but mostly I was convicted off of lies, and I do plan to appeal it, and that's all I have to say.
Judge John McBain did not agree.
I have to say.
Okay. Got anything you want to tell the court about the 12 stab wounds that you did in self-defense?
The alleged 12 stab wounds?
Well, I don't think the pathologist lied about those.
No, I don't have anything further to say.
Camilla didn't act like she was sorry about killing Marcel in court. Camilla rolled her eyes and laughed as Marcel's family read a letter to her in court.
You did leave a big hole in our hearts and a void that will never be filled. You took the life of our sister's only child. You took a bloodline out of our family. And we hope that each and every day that you remember the cries of help that he screamed as you plunged that knife in and out of his body. So we, the family of Marcel, would like to thank God for the special gift that you will receive today from the judge.
You talk again, I'll have my court officer put a piece of duct tape in your mouth. You understand it? Try it one more time and see what happens to your mouth.
Camilla was eventually found guilty of first-degree murder by a jury, and she was given a term of life in jail without the chance of release. The judge who heard Camilla's case said that it was one of the most brutal killings he had ever seen.
And you end up probably in some kind of domestic, ultimately hit him in the head so hard with a pan that you actually cave in the front of his skull, and then you stabbed him no less than 12 times. You know what? I was the only one in the courtroom that knew what kind of knife that was. And it was a big old long fillet knife. because I used to fillet pike and muskie and salmon. And I'll tell you, you gutted him like a fish in that apartment too. You were relentless. You stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed, you stabbed until he was dead. You didn't think he was an intruder. You know, maybe one stab wound, okay. Maybe that's 7 defense. But you put in 11 more to make sure he was good and dead. So I hope, I agree with the family. I hope you die in prison as well. You know, if this was a death penalty state, you'd be getting the chair. You got 42 days to appeal my sentence. Think I've legally erred.